Today I'll be going to take the chapter Cell Structure and Functions. So in last class we studied just in brief what is cell. So cell is basic structural and functional unit of life. So here coming to what what we studied last time. So Robert Hooke is the one who discovered cell for the very first time in a cork cell. So he took a slices of a cork and observed it under a microscope. So it was a simple design microscope, not a magnified one, not a magnified one. So in that case what happened? He saw dead cells. So those were like compartments of cell. Just cell compartments, square shaped, or plant cells are usually hexagonal shaped. So those cells were seen as a compartments. Okay. So in that he observed only the compartments and then he called it as a cell. Okay. So then next is today in this class we'll study about cell size, cell number, then cell shape. So depending on number of cells present, we name them unicellular or multicellular organisms. So if a cell is having only single cell, then we call it unicellular organism. Cell number. So cell number, based on cell number, there are two types: unicellular and multicellular. So if only single cell is present, then we call it unicellular. If more than one cell is present, then we call it multicellular organisms. So example for unicellular example, so we can take bacteria. Bacteria is single celled organism where it can perform all its function even though it is a single celled organism. Then there is amoeba. So in last year you have studied about amoeba, where it will be having a pseudopodia, that is it can move anywhere based on its pseudopodia, that is false legs. And then another one is paramecium. So paramecium is another such example which can be observed under a microscope taking the pond water. Amoeba also can be observed, bacteria, so all these can be observed. Then there is euglena. So all such chlamydomonas, there are many such examples for unicellular organisms, yeast also. Then coming to multicellular. So multicellular example, the ones which are having more than one cell is multicellular organism. So here multicellular examples: human beings, plants, then animals, insects. There can be number of cells, that is there can be hundreds of cells, thousands of cells, then lakhs together, billions together, trillions together. There are many number of, depending on the size, the number of cells also increase. Okay, so unicellular is bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, euglena. Multicellular example: human beings, plants, animals, insects, etc. Then there are then coming to cell size. So coming to cell size can vary from 0.1, that is micrometer to centimeter. Micrometers to mm or centimeters also it can vary. Okay. So in case of micrometer, we see bacteria in terms of micrometer. So they may range from 0.1 to 0.01 to 0.1 micrometer or more than that. Based on that size, there are different variant. Micrometer is nothing but 10 power minus 6. Okay. So here in this case, 0.1 into 10 power minus 6 is so less. So we cannot see them through a naked eye. Okay. So for that we need a microscope to observe it completely, the structural formation, how it has to be seen. So that can be seen under a microscope. Then there is larger cells also. So egg of an ostrich egg. So ostrich egg is bigger, so it can be seen through a naked eye. It is one single cell. So some cells are not seen through a naked eye, and some cells can be seen, which can be seen through a naked eye. Then there is cell shape. So cell shape. So cell shapes, there are many types of cell. Based on the function, they adopt their shapes. So in that case, there are usually the cells are round, elongated cells will be there, but based on their functions, there can be variations in cell shape. In case of amoeba, so let's take an example of amoeba, where amoeba can have irregular shape. So it can move wherever it is possible. That is, the pseudopodia is helpful in movement of the amoeba. Then in case of humans, it is white blood cell. So even though it is not a complete organism, amoeba is a complete organism where it can perform all its function on its own, whereas white blood cell, it is not a complete organism, but it is a cell in a human organism, that is human, that is white blood cell. Okay, so white blood cell, it is also having irregular shape. Okay, so that it can ooze out of the blood vessel. So whenever there is infection, so that it can ooze out, or whenever there is a necessary for a white blood cell action in our body, so that it ooze out through this irregular shape. So its shape is not fixed. Then coming to RBC, RBC is having a disc shape. So disc shape is because the flattened structure can hold hemoglobin along with the oxygen, so that this RBC can supply the blood, supply oxygen through a flow of a blood, and then it can supply hemoglobin, iron content, is all held in it. So because of that, it is disc shape where oxygen is present. Then there is another is neuron. Neuron is elongated, long, elongated like, which is having lengthy structure, so that the neurotransmitter, that means certain messages are sent through the neurons. So depending on their function, the cell shape varies from place to place and organ to organ. So cell shape also varies. So cell number, cell size, cell shape we studied. Then next we'll move on to how the cell tissues. Last year you have studied about how the formation of tissue occurs. So basically cell to tissue. So cell is, now let's say this is cell. Okay. So cell is unicellular here. Okay. When many cells together are present, then we call it a tissue. Okay, cells together we call it a tissue. Many such group of tissues, we call it a organ. So many such group of tissues together, many different types of tissues will be present in an organ. So let's say this is an organ, let's say stomach or liver or any other organ. Okay, so this is organ. So many different types of tissues will be present in them, not just one type of tissue, many different types. There are different types of tissues, epithelial tissue, and then in plants there are different tissues, and in case of animal there are different tissues. So many such tissues combine together to form a organ system, organ. Then next is many organs together. So many organs will form an organ system. So what are the examples for organ system? So different organ systems are digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, reproductive system, nervous system, circulatory system. So as such, many different systems are there in our body. So these organs together will form different organ systems. Then all these organ systems together will form an organism. So organism here can be human being. So in human being, let's take an example as human being. So human is having all those systems, that is organ system, that is nervous system, circulatory system, then there is excretory system, then reproductive system, respiratory, digestive system. So many, in case of plants, even though the organ system is, even though the cells are not completely differentiated, that means they do not have a well-defined organ system. In the sense they have the different way of supplying their water. Water moves from root to the stem, then to the leaves, then the photosynthesis occurs there. Food production, their process is completely different as compared to a human being. Then in case of unicellular organism, the single cell itself, example bacteria or amoeba. Single cell itself can perform all the functions, whereas in case of human beings, all these all these tissues together, organs together, organ system together, all these together will perform a multiple function, because here the cell tissue differentiation is well developed, whereas in case of bacteria or amoeba, it is not well developed. So that's why the single cell itself can perform the production, reproduction happens in this case also. Then there is digestion happening, synthesis is happening. So all those things are happening in a single cell. Next we'll move on to cell structure, that is parts of a cell. Cell structure or parts of a cell. Mainly in cell, there are main parts are cell membrane, cytoplasm, then nucleus. So mainly these parts are the main parts of a cell. Cell membrane will be present, which is separating surrounding cell from the main cell or the particular cell. Then the jelly-like substance present. Jelly-like substance present inside is the cytoplasm. There are many different organelles present inside them, suspended. Then there is nucleus, which is a control center of all the organelles present in a cell. and also it has a main role. Okay, so we'll discuss them in detail now. So all these together, okay, cytoplasm along with cell membrane, nucleus, all these together we call them protoplasm. Okay, protoplasm because all these are living matter. So nucleus is living matter, cytoplasm contains, then there is cell membrane. So cell membrane, we'll study about cell membrane now. So let's see animal cell. So in case of animal cell, there is cell membrane. This outermost layer is cell membrane. So this cell membrane is having it gives a definite shape to a particular cell. So based on the structure of this cell membrane, the cells appeal or cells look based on their structure. That is how they look is depends on this structure of a cell membrane. So here it is cell membrane having always the function, it provides shape. Okay, and then it also protects the cell contents. So, and what it does is, it is semi-permeable or partially permeable. That means it does not allow anything that comes into the cell. So it allows only particular particles to enter, and it does not allow it allows water and certain solutes and does not allow certain solutes. So based on certain minerals are allowed, certain solvent is allowed. Usually it allows solvent, that is water is allowed inside, not any other thing. Whereas in case of let's discuss about cell wall also, I'll explain. So cell membrane here is semi-permeable. That means it allows only particular solvents to enter, not the solute. So that's why we call it semi-permeable. Then is cytoplasm. So we'll see about cytoplasm. So in case of cytoplasm, we can see here, this all suspended particles here are present in a cytoplasm. So it is a jelly-like material, jelly-like substance. Jelly-like substance where organelles are suspended. Different organelles. There are different organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, again Golgi complex, mitochondria, lysosome, ribosomes. All those are present in the cytoplasm. Okay. So cytoplasm mainly function exchange of materials occurs here from nucleus to the cell membrane. So here in this we can see, so cell membrane is there, cytoplasm is there, and then there is nucleus. So exchange of materials occur between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So there are certain things moving from cytoplasm to the nucleus and from nucleus back to the cytoplasm. So there are synthesis of protein synthesis is happening through ribosome. Then there is production of replication of DNA is happening. So I will study about nucleus also. Will teach you. Then there is lysosome present, mitochondria present, Golgi complex, endoplasmic. So here we can see the circles, right? So those circles are nothing but ribosomes present on the surface. Okay, and then those round shapes are not here. So this is endoplasmic reticulum, which is smooth. Endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic, because there are no ribosomes present. Here the ribosomes are present, that's why we call it rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then there is microfilament, microtubules are present, centrioles are present, which help in cell division. Okay, so basically the ribosomes help in protein synthesis, Then there is microfilaments, microtubules, centrioles, all those help in cell division. Nucleus is the control center, so we'll study nucleus in detail. Mitochondria, it is called powerhouse of the cell. Then there is Golgi complex, it produces certain enzymes helpful for the functioning of a cell. Then there is endoplasmic reticulum, where exchange of things happen between cytoplasm and the nucleus. And then there is lysozyme. So if any bacterial infection occurs or a viral infection occurs, so these lysosomes will engulf, they perform the function of phagocytosis. That means, so any microbe enters the body and enters the cell, so these lysosomes will combine with that bacteria, secrete their enzymes and digest those particular content of a bacteria, so that it can kill a bacteria. Then in case of animal cells, there can be vacuoles present. Okay, so if they are present, they are very smaller, otherwise they are absent. So if they are present, they are smaller in shape, and if not present, it is completely absent. Whereas in case of plant cell, the vacuole is larger, it occupies most of the space in a plant cell. So we can study here in case of plant cell. So let's see plant cell. So plant cell, we can see most of the space is occupied by a vacuole. Vacuole is large in case of plant cell, whereas in case of animal cell, it is smaller. Then nucleus. So in case of nucleus, so nucleus is having nuclear membrane which is porous. So it is now this is, let's say this is cell. So in a cell, here is cytoplasm present, and this is nuclear membrane. So this nuclear membrane is porous. That means it can allow certain things to pass out to the cytoplasm, and it also allows certain things to get inside the nucleus. So both the way transfer occurs in case of nucleus. So nuclear membrane is the one that is providing movement of particular substances from in and out of the nuclear membrane. Okay, then this, if a nuclear membrane, in case of let's discuss about prokaryotes and eukaryotes here. In case of prokaryotes, what happens is, so they do not have a well-defined nucleus. That means inside this nucleus there is genetic material present. Okay, that is chromosomes or gene. Then there is one more, nucleolus is present. Okay, so this is nucleus. I'll draw it again. So this is cell, nucleus is present. Then in the nucleus, nucleolus is present. Then here chromosomes are present. Okay, so these chromosomes are present always inside a nuclear membrane in case of a eukaryotic cell. So we say it is well-defined organisms. Okay, well-defined nucleus is present. That's why we call them as a eukaryotic organism. What happens in case of bacteria is, so bacteria, this is one cell. Okay, so here there is no nuclear membrane present in case of a bacteria. So this genetic material, chromosome, genes or genetic material, what we call, this is present randomly. It is not covered inside a nuclear membrane. So there is no nuclear membrane present in case of bacteria. So such organisms we call prokaryotic organisms. So the well-defined nucleus, then we call it eukaryotic. If the nucleus is, if there is no nuclear membrane and the genetic material is present freely, then we call it prokaryotic organisms. Okay, so again, as in the case of nucleus, what happens? The nucleus, I'll just draw the structure of a nucleus here. So nucleus here is, this is nucleus, nuclear membrane, and then nucleolus. the jelly-like substance here also is present, that we call nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm, and then there are suspended genes. Let's say chromosomes. Okay, chromosomes are genes. So this is the one, nucleus is the one that is controlling all the organelles in our cell. Okay, control, that's why we call it control center of a cell. Okay, and it is present at the center in a cell. So it is present at the center in the cell, and then this nucleus is mainly responsible, that is the genes present in the nucleus are mainly mainly responsible for heredity, that is they can transfer messages from one generation to another generation. That means based on how our parents look, so the children also look based on this character, that is they get their features from parents to the offspring. Okay, so that is about the nucleus. So we studied about animal cell, where there is cell membrane, then there is nucleus, then there is cytoplasm. So in cytoplasm all those organelles are suspended, then there is nucleus having nucleoplasm and nucleolus and certain genes along with the nuclear membrane. Then we call it, if it is well defined, then we call it eukaryotic organism, and if the genes are present freely, then we call it prokaryotic organisms. Okay, understood? So next we'll move to plant cell. In case of plant cell, the same things are present but little difference is there. So in case of plant cell, there is cell wall. Outermost is cell wall, then comes the cell membrane. Okay. So why cell wall is present in case of plant cell is because in case of plant cell, see, let's see plant cell. So plant cell is having cell wall. So cell wall is responsible for providing protection. Also it provides a rigidity to the plant cell, because the cells, the plants cannot move. They get exposed to lot of violent conditions, like there can be higher wind rate, temperature. So in order to get protected by all those, so cell wall is present. Mainly the function is providing shape. It helps in providing shape. Also it helps in providing protection, and then rigidity to the cell, so that it gets protected from the harsh conditions, as it cannot move from one place to another. Then there is the main difference is this one, cell wall is completely permeable. We studied that cell membrane is semi-permeable. That means it allows only certain particles to enter. It does not allow every other particles to enter. Whereas cell wall, it is permeable. That means it allows everything that comes into it. Okay. And cell membrane is semi-permeable. Semi-permeable. Okay. Next is cytoplasm. So cytoplasm here same as that of a animal cell, but there are certain different organelles present. So in cytoplasm, that is also jelly-like substance, where mitochondria is present. Then there is rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then there is chloroplast present. So the organelle that is present in plant cell is chloroplast. In case of animal cell, there is no chloroplast. Okay. So chloroplast, we know that there are in cytoplasm, there are certain circular, let's say this is cell. Sorry. So let's say this is cell. So cytoplasm is present, here is vacuole. There are certain suspended particles like organelles present. So those are usually plastids. Okay. So those plastids are containing a green color pigment. Green color pigment. So that green color pigment is nothing but Chlorophyll. So this chlorophyll is responsible for photosynthesis. So this chlorophyll is present in the chloroplast. That is basically plastid is nothing but we call it chloroplast because it is containing chlorophyll, which is having the function of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is nothing but synthesis of food. Okay, so food synthesis occurs in case of chloroplast. Then there is vacuole. Vacuole is larger in case of plant cell. Then mitochondria is present, cytoplasm, chloroplast. Okay, so all those are cells which are present. Then we'll compare both the cells now, plant and animal cell. Yeah, ma'am.
5 more minutes. Finished in 5 minutes.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay.
Time is up.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Let's summarize the whatever we studied till now. So in case of in case of cell structure and function, so we studied about cell size, cell number, cell shape. So in cell number we studied about unicellular and multicellular. In case of cell size, we studied about what are the size that varies from one cell to another. That is micrometer to centimeter is the cell size. Then there is cell shape. So depending on the shape of a cell varies from place to place. So there can be irregular shape, disc shape, round shape and all that. Then there is animal cell. So we studied about parts of a cell. So mainly there are 3 parts, that is cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. So cell membrane is where it is giving a shape, also it is giving protection. Whereas in case of plant cell there is extra covering, that is cell wall which is present. So that cell wall is giving rigidity, also it is giving protection. Then there is cytoplasm inside a cell membrane, which is jelly-like substance. So this jelly-like substance contains different organelles present in it, like Golgi complex, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, and then there are lysosome, chloroplast in case of plant cell. So certain organelles like chloroplast and plastid varies from one cell to another. That is plant cell is having chloroplast, whereas animal cell is not having chloroplast. Vacuole is present in case of plant cell, and in case of animal cell it is smaller or it is completely absent. Okay, then mitochondria is present in both the cells. Okay, so other than that we studied about the protection, nuclear structure. Nucleus is having nuclear membrane, and then nucleolus, then nucleoplasm. So in the nuclear membrane in the nucleus, if it is well defined, then we call it eukaryotic. If it is not well defined, it is primitive, then we call it prokaryotic organism. Okay, then so we studied. So I'll give a homework for you guys. Homework is so draw plant and animal cell, plant and animal cell, and compare them. So you just need to write the difference between plant and animal cell, draw plant and animal cells separately, and next class we'll discuss about this in detail, that is the structural differences we'll look through, and then we'll move on to the next chapter. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.